All right, let's do it live. Let's do it live. We are live. Oh, look at me. My pearly yellows aren't looking so yellow because I'm kind of getting tan. Yeah, I was out there laying in the sun, drinking some lemonade, sitting in the shade, drinking some lemonade. Your old buddy Josh hanging out, making my eyes look green. Hey, Josh. Look, I'm married, people. I'm married. Oh, but Josh. Oh, I get you. I get you. My hair's looking all salt and pepper and yellow, kind of. Huh? I mean, no, like light brown. Hey, getting out in the sun, getting that vitamin D. Are you guys getting that vitamin D? Or are you afraid of that big heat tab in the sky? You're like, oh, it's going to make me have all the big heat tab in the sky. It's very dangerous. It's very painful. You need some of that vitamin D, baby. You got to get some. So get out there and I said that. Hey, Jill. So what? Did you never answer my email, Jill? Why do you think this whole thing with the jabby jabbies is starting to come? Like, why is it okay now to start talking about jabby jabbies? It's starting to become more and more mainstream. I actually think it's to take out Trump. That's what I think. I think Trump is so far ahead in the polls that they recognize that they can't take him out because Biden, no one cares about Biden. Just no one likes the guy. Look, I just think at the end of the day, people liked it better under Trump. They're going to say, I'm better than I was. The old, are you better off? What did Reagan say? Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Yeah, what's going on, Silent Cow? What are you doing in Omaha? And that's what Trump says. Are you better off now or 4 years ago? And everyone's going to say they're better off now. I'm better off 4 years ago. And so there's nothing a Snippy Joe can do. And as such, as people know, and they can't say, oh, they can't tell blacks that Trump's going to put them in chains like Snippy Joe did with hey, what's up, guys? Berkshire. Oh, you went to Berkshire thing? Hey, well, email or say how that went. What's up, my man in Maine, Northern Capitan? Boss Tweed. I just read about Boss Tweed and the Brooklyn Bridge. Crazy. Anyway, so my thought process is they're going to say about Trump, they can't take him out because no one is happy. Warren being selling 13% of a stake in Apple. Yeah, and did you notice, by the way? See, this is where I got to keep focused. I'm going to start highlighting that. Hold on a second. And did you notice that Chris's daughter is killing it in softball, killing it. Just sad that softball, there's no like professional, like what does a young lady do who's like a freaking killing at softball? Glad to hear Abel and Adja speak. I used to know a guy, I won't say much. He was an attorney, estate planning attorney, who did some estate work for some big heavy hitters at Berkshire, who and some of those people he just named there, Silent Cow, they just that name just put this way. He did some big estate planning for some of those people at Berkshire, and it's just one of those names triggered me to remember who that was. Isn't that crazy? He was one of my clients. And that's how, dude, that I was rolling with pretty fancy people, dude, when I was at USA. I can't name their names or anything like that. Not that you would ever know anyway. But I used to have some pretty famous clients, dude, believe it or not. Land of 10,000 taxes. And you would know some of these guys, but for sure. And I used to have them as clients. And it was just it's crazy to think this is who I used to roll with. This guy, real nice guy. I'm sure he's dead now, but he was a big estate planning attorney, and he used to write for Trust and Estates magazine back in the long time ago. And the guy would just, I mean, it's just like I was listening. We ate at a place in Oyster Bay in Long Island. It's freaking Long Island. If it wasn't for the liberal politics in New York and the insanity of the estate, the taxes there, Long Island's nice, man. I mean, it's nice. It's just all there's to it. I was stunned. I was like, I've never been to Long Island. I hop in that train to LIRR, whatever it's called, going back and forth these various towns. It was freaking nice. Anyway, and so we're sitting out there over at some place, some golf club in Oyster Bay. He goes, across, see that house over there? I said, yeah. He goes, that's Billy Joel's house or something like that. I can't remember. It's still his house where he used to own or something like that. I said, damn. Anyway, so this guy used to be a writer for Trust and Estates magazines. He was telling me all this stuff about estate planning. He goes, look, man, this is what you got to make sure. I was learning from like literally some of the best people ever. Insane. I'll never forget that, man. And because I had New York, New Jersey, I can't remember if I had Connecticut. I think I just had New York and New Jersey as my territory. Was at USA. Anyway, Tallahassee. Hey, what's going on? Really? Staten Island's the last same place. Yeah, Staten Island. Freaking. I like. I've never been to Staten Island, but I know a bunch of people who have. And they like it quite a bit, as a matter of fact. Warren B. acts one way, but advises everyone to invest in S&P. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Do not what he. The funny thing about Warren Buffett, so he's sold. How much did he sell, Silent Cow? He sold like freaking 100 billion of Apple or something like that, or 115 million shares, I think is what it was. And Apple dropped like that much. So all these people say if we have a wealth tax, it's going to destroy the stock. And Apple, I think Warren Buffett sold like 115 million shares of Apple. And Apple stock, you didn't even notice it. You didn't even notice it. You just didn't. I tell you, man, Republicans, a wealth tax on the uber wealthy, because the uber wealthy are not playing for America. They're just not. And you say we're going to use that money to fund Social Security. Anyway, so going back to what I was saying about with Jill, about what is the reason that they're saying it's now okay to talk about the jabbies. You know, we got all these idiots. Chris Cuomo's fake. I mean, he's vax injured. That guy's just, look, he's doing every kind to keep relevant. But I've been seeing more and more people coming out there now. And I'm seeing more and more. It's just this weird now. It's just odd. The whole point, though, the reason why the New York Times is writing about this, it's just the whole thing's odd. The whole point is that they're going to use that to bash Trump because Trump isn't losing. People were better off 4 years ago than they are today. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. Joe Biden can say, like he did to Mitt Romney, if the Republicans win, they're going to put y'all back in chains. That's what Joe Biden said to blacks. You know what I'm saying? And he can say that, but the facts are he won. He had the Senate, he had the House, he was president, and no black person got put back in chains. You see what I'm saying? So it's just not going to work. It's just none of that stuff's going to work. You can't threaten people, say he's going to put gays in jail. It's just because he didn't. He never talked, but he just did. So all that stupid stuff, people are still going to pretend like he's going to do it. He's going to take your Social Security. He didn't. That's the nice thing about having Trump having run before, or have been president. None of that stuff happened. Well, he's going to do it this time. Okay, you swear you said last time. Didn't happen. The economy is worse off now than it was under Trump. Just fact. I mean, this isn't debatable. You know what I'm saying? It's just not debatable. Everyone's paying more in prices than they were under Trump. It's just a fact. Just a fact. So the only thing they're going to do is they're going to try to get people like me who are anti-something not to vote for Trump because they're going to say Trump is so endeavored with that something. And they're going to try to say, look, Trump is the father of that something. And as such, you sure you want to vote for a guy who's, and I'm telling you, that's what they're going to try to do. You can see it a mile away. They're trying to get out from under the eventual fallout when Trump comes back. Well, no, but they're going to try to. They won't be able to blame Trump. What are you talking about, Jill? Of course they can blame Trump. Absolutely. Absolutely they can blame him. Look what's going on right now. They blame him for, look what's going on right now. There's people trying to get at the fallout. Trump, but how's Trump going to be prepared when he is the guy saying see, that's the thing. Trump saying he's father of it. You see what I'm saying? So the fallout's going to come and someone's going to land on Trump. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. They blame Trump for everything right now. He's not even doing exactly. Yep. Trump tax. Now it's okay to talk about the horse dewormer. It's okay to talk about that now. So anyway, so that's what I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm just saying that's what they're going to try to do. All right, send me an email. Actually, I want to watch the other email you sent me, Jill, about the guy who doesn't believe in the moon landing too. I got that on my two watch things. That's good. By the way, Jill believes in the moon landing. So just as an FYI, Jill, when Jill's not conspiracy, she doesn't trust a lot of stuff, but she believes in the moon landing. So for you guys who are like, oh, you're just conspiracy theorists together. No, many conspiracy theorists believe in the moon landing. I think it's silly, but that's okay. Many people do. That's what's fun about being a conspiracy theorist. You don't have to believe everything. It's fun. It's fun researching it. It's fun looking at the history of smallpox, the history of all. It's just fun. Anyway, Trump tax cuts, absent the 21% corporate rate expire. Yeah, what I'm saying is it could go back up to 35%, I think. Oh, you don't believe in the. Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. The other thing, the curvature of the earth. That's what it is. That's what it is. All right, right on, Jill. Okay. Yes, right. That's what it was. Gotcha. Why did Kennedy? Yeah, that was weird too, man. Kennedy said a worm ate part of his. That was strange, man. Yeah, exactly right, Mark. See, They sling as much mud up against the wall and hope something sticks. Exactly. How freaking William? How dare you say dividends are not overrated? They are overrated, dividends. William, are you the estate planning guy? By the way, you already starting in on me. I think it's the guy, the estate planning guy, who gave us a lot of good insights a couple weeks ago, William. So we'll give him some credit. Even Google has 100 billion in cash. Everyone's prepared. I completely agree, man. Long Island's too flat. I like New England. Yeah. Our dividends are dead. All right. Wow. The interview I saw with somebody I think I found, I confirmed the established most afraid of coming out. I think this latest Cuomo and other. Yeah, it's weird how it keeps creeping out. Yeah, it is weird. I just tell you, man, all of a sudden you can talk about Hearst and Warmer, New York Times. It's just none of this stuff happens. I mean, it all happens in a vacuum, or it doesn't happen, whatever it is. It's all negotiated stuff where they say, all right, this is what you're going to talk about. Buffett said the Apple stake due to taking advantage of the tax rate, 100%. That's what he said. Exactly. He's got to take advantage of the tax rate. The tax rate's going, and this is the thing. Buffett said also, we should have raised the tax rates, but he's a fiduciary. He's got to watch out his shareholders in Berkshire. So he's like, we are fiduciaries, so we got to take advantage of the capital gain tax. What it is. They're trying to hustle Trump out of $1 million, 100 million. What? He told Sage Steele? Who's Sage? That's the only Sage I know. Yeah, that was crazy. I don't know what. Maybe Kenny's trying to get on some of Sniffy Joe's vote. Can you imagine, like, abortion and unlimited right? That's just freaking crazy. All right. Budweiser and Jack Daniels worms. Dividends are dead. Wish I could see more ads for Mike. I don't even know who Mike McCormick is. I don't even know who that guy is. Mike McCormick. I don't know if it's a screw up though. I don't know if it's a screw up. I think that's part to maybe try to get some of Sniffy Joe's base. IRS says Trump owes $100 million in taxes for Trump. Dude, this is crazy. And then they put, what's the guy? Pete, Jill, you know what I'm talking about. The Pete guy was in jail. They're going to put Steve Bannon in jail. The Republicans just made Mayorkas or some of that contempt of Congress, but he won't go to jail. It's insane. Like freaking Peter Navarro, he's in jail. They're trying to put Stephen Bannon in jail for contempt of Congress. I don't think it's Mayorkas. There's another guy, but he won't go to jail. It's insane. You will know, Josh. Come on, I will know. I don't know what. All right, here's really. So our big story about autonomous trucks, no driver, no rest breaks. These companies are going to run these trucks in the ground. All right. I don't know, man. All right. So first, before we get started on the dividend stuff, because the crowd usually gets. All right. So remember, we got two. Steve Tumpa. Didn't was some like rap song about Hunter? Isn't there some rap song about Hunter that's just taken off? Dems use their power and Republic 100%. William, you and I are on the same page there. Completely agree. Republicans are controlled 100%. The only non-controlled opposition. I mean, there are a lot of truthers who think Trump's in on it too. I don't know how you could say that, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you can say that. I mean, the guy is getting thrown every which way to Sunday, and you can't be controlled opposition if they're coming at you like freaking white on rice. I mean, Lindsey Graham, obviously, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, Lindsey Graham's controlled opposition. John McCain, obviously controlled. I know he's dead, but still, these guys are obviously controlled opposition. And Mike Johnson, freaking the Supreme Court guy, John Roberts, obviously controlled opposition. I don't know how people could say that Trump controlled opposition. I watched my man Anomaly. I like Anomaly. He didn't like Trump anymore. He used to like Trump. He kind of goes on the thing that Trump won't do. Like, I say, how do you say that, Anomaly? Like, Trump is losing money. He's losing like everything. It's crazy. I don't know how you can say like Trump is controlled. Not you, William, but dude, these are some evil, sick people. So at my kid's confirmation today, Um, the guy, the priest that he taught a long time, that is our archbishop, who used to teach high school, by the way, which I appreciated, but he talked a long time. It's like, dude, remember, you got to remember Reagan's legacy: 3 points and done. 3 points and done. Especially if you're speaking to teenagers, 2 points and done. You can't give 20 different points, man, because no one's gonna remember anything. So Reagan's legacy was, he says, 3 main points, and lower taxes, strong national defense, and I forgot the third one. I can't remember. Make America great again. Something like that. I can't remember. But strong national defense. Maybe it's beat the commies, but I think it was strong national defense, lower taxes, and one other thing as well. I forgot what it was. 3 points. Jab, 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 and getting out of there. Jab, 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 getting out of there. That's what you got to do. Anyways, but the guy did say today, he goes, look, abortion is the murder of a child. And that's why I've always appreciated Catholics, because they've always stuck by anti-abortion. Abortion is the murder of a child. And he goes, so even if you don't believe me, ask anyone who's had an abortion, ask them, how do you feel about the abortion? Some might lie and say they're fine with it. They know they're not. They know. Just ask them. Just ask them. And he said, if you're a fun guy, look at fun guy. I call him fungi. Get it? He's fungi. That's the French version of fungi. Fungi. Yeah. Guy, the freaking hockey player, Guy Charbonneau. What's his name? Fungi. So it's 3 things. By the way, so that guy said abortion is a killing of a baby. So if you have an abortion, and then later on you have a child, it's your second child. It's your second child. You killed your first child. Guy Lafleur, that was it, Douglas. That's what Guy Lafleur I read on that. Yeah, Guy Lafleur, absolutely. Anyway, it's great. And he wasn't just talking about the girls either. He's talking about the boys. He goes, don't have an abortion. He also don't freaking get addicted to pornography. It's a good sermon. It's just he would just kind of shoo all over the place. Like, dude. Anyway, I thought it was pretty good. I will say, my Catholic church, my specific Catholic church. There's my man Ted. Right on, Ted. The Spanish speaking influence is over the top. There's no other way around this. It actually ticks me off. There's a lot less. Like, we have a significant Indian presence in my Catholic church. Haitian, lots of Asians, you know what I'm saying? And yet they roll the red carpet out for these Spanish speakers. The Spanish speakers, are they donating much money? No. Are they freaking? So what happens? One guy who was told explicitly, because they went on the retreat, he had like a Playboy shirt on with that Playboy bunny thing. He was told explicitly, don't wear that at the confirmation. He wore that at the confirmation. On the bus back, the Spanish speakers are all yapping to each other. You know what I'm saying? Because the vast majority of the people at the confirmation are Spanish speakers. And the thing was done probably 3/4 of it in Spanish. And the thing that pisses me off is like, wait, I get what you think you're doing. You're appealing to Spanish. I get it. I get what you're doing. I don't agree with it. I get what you think you're doing. But don't you think there are people who speak Russian, Polish, Vietnamese, Filipino, people who speak Hindi that are also part of the Catholic Church, French for Haitian, never mind the African. We got some African congregants too. Why are you rolling out the red carpet for all these Spanish people? I mean, they're not donating any money. I'd say that's all encompassing. There are some for sure. But the issue is we're making our church, St. Thomas Aquinas, Spanish. And it's like, no one wants that. We didn't freaking vote on that stuff. No one voted on this. And it wasn't like that when our people came over. It wasn't like that. You assimilated. And they're not assimilating. And everybody knows they're not assimilating. Why would you need to assimilate if you can speak Spanish to everybody without having to learn English? And then you got a freaking white guy who's the archbishop, and it's just trying to be Spanish. It's crazy to me. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I don't understand why they do that. It's like, but we got, they're 100%. That's 100%. I don't get it. And I was talking to my wife. She's like, well, we got to be more appealing. I said, well, you need to appeal to, you better have a freaking congregation that speaks French. You have a congregation that speaks Congolese, that speaks Vietnamese. I mean, this is insanity. They do have lots of babies. They're getting less and less, though. That's the issue. They do have lots of babies. But when it comes down to it, Penelope, is that at the end of the day, you you're driving out your base by making it so like this isn't my church now because you're not speaking English. It's just not. Well, you should learn. No, not my country. I shouldn't learn Spanish. No, this is our country. When the Gaelics came over here, they learned English. You see what I'm saying? When the freaking French came, they learned, the Haitians, and they learned English. That doesn't mean you can't speak your own language, but this is our language. And the more you divide up the language, the more it's going to be the Tower of Babel. The exact 100%. They do not have have many babies in America. We've seen that. Second generations are having less and less and less. And I love, like, we had a Spanish guy who had 5 kids with freaking crushing. Love it. I guarantee he's going to be freaking kicking ass for the church and donating all that because that's a guy that's going to. All these people aren't like that. Now, look, I don't hate these people. Not at all. I'm glad they're there. Freaking crushing. But the issue is you're rolling out the red carpet to where you're losing the foundation of this is what happened to like some of these mainstream Protestant churches, with all their 57 flavors and stuff and their gay marriages and everything. That's why these churches are dying because they're not staying true. You have to, no one say, look, man, if we're going to make the gospel so liberalized, why do I even go to church? And the funny thing was for Catholics, what the priest says, again, the Archbishop said, which is incredibly important. He goes, the reason you come to church for Catholics is because we truly believe that is Jesus's body and Jesus's blood. That's why. That is literally, we believe this. We believe this is Jesus's body and Jesus's blood. And if you believe that, you should be going to church to receive Jesus's body and Jesus's blood. But at the same time, we're going to make it in Spanish. And then we're going to ask you for donating money. And we're going to it's just the whole thing's crazy, man. I'm not going to say that, but I think there's a lot of issues with the church that really are bad. Let's say a prayer, man. Let's say some prayers. I got some prayers that need to be said. Heavenly Father, we just pray for people who are struggling. Dark horse here. Struggling medications. We pray for people who struggle with addictions of any sort, over the counter, pharmaceutical, illicit drugs, pornography, alcohol. We pray for people who are lost. We pray for people who are calling out your name and they're not hearing you, Lord. Please call out to them. Call out to them, Lord. Just say, I am here. I am here. I am here. Because without you, it's nothing, Lord. Without you, it is nothing. We need you. And please just call out to us that you are there. You are here to guide us. You are here you sent your son to save us from all eternity of without you. He died and suffered on a cross so we could experience the joy of being fulfilled with the Lord, the everlasting creator of all things. Just pray for people who are lost and sad and hurt right now. We pray in Jesus' name, amen. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We come, I completely agree. We come to church not because it's like the cool kid club, but it's because we need God's fulfillment. And the more the church goes away, it makes it political, or they infantilize, whatever that word is, a growing group of people at the expense of the foundation. Broken Arrow. All right, I'm going to ban you, Broken Arrow. Yeah, but look, I don't know if I believe that Jesus as the host. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know. That's okay. That's okay. Because there's a lot of things that I just, I have doubts on. But having doubts is okay. There's nothing wrong with having doubts. I don't think God gave us a brain to have doubts. I think God gave us a brain to say, hey, you have two paths. Your doubts are going to lead you away or they're going to lead you closer. And my doubts have led me closer to God without question. The more conspiracies I get in, the more I realize that God is in charge of everything. Because the more I realize can't put your faith in human beings. Never mind politics. You know what I'm saying? Might be a good time to go back and read the book. Talk about the Bible. I read the Bible every day, man. Every day I read the Bible. And the Bible is very confusing. That's very confusing. That's why you got to read it over. That's why you can't just read it and say, oh, I'm done reading it. It's not like that. And it's fun when you read the Bible and you start looking up, like you look up and you say, oh, what is that? You know what I'm saying? Like I forgot what I was looking up the other day. So right now I'm in, what I'm saying. And the funny thing is we got our best priests are foreigners. You know what I'm saying? The best priests we've had an Indian guy, was it Indian? Haitian? I can't remember. We just crushed. And then we have a new guy, a Spanish guy, just crushing. It's crazy. The best priests I've had are foreigners. You know why? Because they're sticking true to the conservatism. And I don't mean conservative politically, the conservatism, the traditional school of Christianity is great. Why do you call yourself a Catholic if I don't believe that? If I don't believe that, I didn't say I don't believe it. I said I don't know. I said I don't know. Come on. You say you don't think that's a little bit restrictive? Well, how can you be a Catholic if you don't believe it? And saying I believe it, said I don't know. Different than saying I don't believe. It's kind of like when people say, oh, you don't believe in God? I said, no, I don't. No, I do. But you ask people, they're like, I'm not sure. That doesn't mean they're atheist. It means they're agnostic. They don't know. They don't know. Yeah, they say I don't know. Don't put me in that box there, Ted. Saying I don't know is, I think, it's more people need to learn how to say I don't know. More people do. Just if a guy says this is that doesn't make me believe. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I completely agree. The priest very much is like a. Oh yeah. And then they said, and then we have our. I mean, it's all part of the great conspiracy. Why did the Catholic Church have this insane pope? Well, he comes from Latin America. He's white as the day is long, of course, but because the Marxists are running the church, there's no other way around that. No other way around that. And when you got a guy comes from Latin America, speaks Spanish, the church is going to do whatever they can because they all want to, it's climb the corporate ladder. Yeah, 100%. I don't know why anyone would say, if you say I don't know, that puts you in a thing like you're denying that. I never said that at all. I don't get it. I think people need to learn how to say I don't know and not be put into some kind of thing. I don't know. I'm not gonna say I'm offended by that. I just find it. Don't put that stuff on me, man. It's okay to don't know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get why people gotta say just because some guy says X, Y, Z. That doesn't make me say it's that. That just doesn't. James 13. Yeah. Well, James. Yeah. I mean, James is crushing. In fact, it's one of the things that the guy was talking about for sure today. The priest, he was saying your endurance. The seven things of the sacrament of confirmation. Endurance. It wasn't endurance. I forgot the other word for it. Yeah, dude. That's what I'm saying. I don't get why people get so. Especially, I don't get like, well, this is the only way to go. I don't buy that for 2 seconds flat. No, it wasn't tramps. It wasn't endurance. It was your ability to be. I'm gonna draw a blank, and they'll come up to me. It's very interesting though, because your ability to stay strong, it's steadfast is kind of way, but it wasn't the right word. It's something like that. Steadfast is like your ability to say basically no. I'm not going to drive home with kids who are drinking. I'm not gonna, even if it means you're like your fortitude. That's what right there, fortitude. Yeah, that was good. All right, so anyway, I think just look. I'm not trying to be vicious or anything here. I just think we got to get over this. Like, well, this is just my opinion. I know everything. You don't know anything. And I'm not saying Ted said that, but just like, come on. The questioning. I think God puts our brain in our head to question. I think you should question man. What I'm saying. You question man. Just because a man says X, Y, Z doesn't mean crap to me. It just doesn't. Yeah, my buddy used to say pressure forms a dent. Pressure forms a diamond. Yeah. No young men are answering the call anymore. Yeah, I don't know that to be true. I don't know. No young. Yeah. All right, and so just real quick, just when we'll get off this because it does offend people about talking about religion. No one knows the answer. I don't care what anybody says. No one knows the answer. No, you didn't offend me, Ted, but you put words in my mouth I never said. I'm not offended by that. I just bothered. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you put words in my mouth I never said? Don't do that. I mean, again, it's like saying, "Oh, you have questions. That means you don't believe in God." No. I think people do that too much. It drives me up the wall. It's like, no, people have a right to question. Why would you not want to invite questions, especially when it comes to promoting Christianity? Why would you not want people to question? Oh my god! If the truth is on your side, questioning will bring people to the truth. It's crazy to me. Not just for this, but if you have the truth, you should be open. You should be an open. Say no. Question all day long. Raise your questions instead of saying. I hear people all the time. Oh, you should read the book. It's like, have you actually read? I'm not talking about Ted. I'm talking about the people who say this. Like, have you read the book? And you're going to say there's no questioning in there. I don't buy that for 2 seconds flat. I don't buy it for 2 seconds flat. When people have no questions on something that's as significant as your eternal soul. Because the book is different. The translations of the Catholic book is different than the Protestant. The Protestant one has different translations. It's crazy. Question everything, man. Firmly believe it takes belong. Oh boy, I think Andrew's drunk again. I firmly believe it takes belong. Oh boy, Andrew, you might want to get off. Yeah, but Christianity will never be destroyed. You can't destroy God. Yeah, when they start putting like the Israel flag, they don't do that. At least in my Catholic churches, they don't. But I've heard they do that in a lot of other churches. This love of Israel boggles my mind. Israel, they love abortion, they hate firearms, they love being vaccine mandates, and they love the 57 flavors. It's the weirdest thing. Weirdest thing. These Christian conservatives, they love them some Israel. It's very strange to me. I don't understand it. The Palestinians are a hell of a lot closer to us than the Israelis. That's just a fact. And they oh yeah, I agree with that. The drawback about being a small group, Andrew, is that at least a couple you've had a couple of know-it-alls, you know what I'm saying? And I don't like that. But I've been in the Catholic Church. I wouldn't say a small group, but Bible studies, which I've been very illuminated by. It was a lot of, I want to say fun, but it really helped me out in my faith. It really, really did. The smaller group studies, I've always found again, I'm not an expert at this, but I've been to a couple that are more Protestant, and there's always a guy or two that's, I don't like that, dude. I don't like that. Yeah, well, let's keep going. I'm done with that. All right, so I want to talk about, I do want to talk about dividends, how dividends are bad. And if people disagree, they're wrong. All right, so let's go over here. We're going to go to, now we're good, Ted. We're good. That's all good, man. We're good. Why would God allow someone to get Alzheimer's, only have them forget who he is, and then they can't remember? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. That's the thing. So it makes God, we don't. Yeah, the Mormons, I don't know, man. It seems like they have their act together. But there are a lot, let's just put it this way. One of the most depressed group of people are dentists. And there's a hell of a lot of Mormon dentists. All right. Now, I'm not saying that in of itself means Mormons are depressed, but there's tons of Mormon dentists, at least in my experience. And dentists are the most depressed group of people there are. So, and again, that doesn't mean Mormon, I'm not saying that. That's not a causation necessarily. If dividends are wrong, I don't want to be right. Right on, man. But Mormons, they're very good at business, if that makes sense. Very good at business, almost too good, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is they definitely are driven by business ventures. And I'm not saying it's bad or good, but I look at this guy Ryan Smith, who's just bought the Arizona Coyotes. He's got 5 kids, so he's crushing. but business is front and center for this. And I don't know. For me, it just kind of rubs me wrong a little bit. That doesn't mean they're bad. Doesn't mean anything. I know tons of Mormons, very happy people, very business focused. And this guy Ryan Smith, who bought the Arizona Coyotes, now he wants to do all this reclamation of downtown Salt Lake City with a government backing and stuff. I said, yeah, see, that's the kind of crap I can't stand. I can't stand that. And I don't know. I see that a lot. Like a lot of guys on YouTube are out of Utah. Lots of Mormons are very aggressive on multi-level marketing, affiliate marketing, this kind of stuff. Very aggressive, very aggressive. And I don't know if that's part of the training of being a Mormon. I don't know, but it's just odd to me, frankly. And it's okay. It's okay. I don't hate the Mormons at all. I love me some Mormons. When we got stuck in the snowpocalypse here in Atlanta, we couldn't make it home, and the Mormon couple let my daughter and me spend the night in their basement. Freaking wonderful people. Every single Mormon I've ever met is wonderful. Very business oriented. Very, very business oriented. And and they're almost like tribal, if you know where I'm going with that. Very tribal in some regard. And that's something to be learned. I think more and more people should be the same group preference. I think one of the things we've gotten out of is same group preference, being Christians as a whole, various same group preferences, and we should be more tribal in that regard. But Mormons are very tribal, if you know where I'm going with that. Yeah, actually, I had a guy I follow on no way. Mormons run many of the Vegas casinos. Is that true? I think I've heard that actually. Is that true? And the Mormons also, don't forget, the Mormon Church really is heavy on the vax. Yeah, I don't care about any. I don't care about any crypto. I literally don't care. Don't care. No way. The Mormons are running many of the casinos. Oh, that's just evil. Kind of like the Jewish rabbi who runs Pornhub. That's just creepy. I don't like that at all. That's somewhat disproved Celtic spirit. Please. That's just. I had a guy, a good friend of mine, who just left Mormons, and I said, he texted me a picture. He was drinking a pint of Guinness. He goes, "Oh, yo, Scan, you remember your old pints of Guinness?" I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "What, are you drinking that?" He goes, "Yeah, man." I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I left the church." I couldn't believe it. He's got 5 kids, just like most Mormons. Beautiful blonde wife. The kids are all beautiful. Just a good guy, great guy. The guy would give his shirt off his back, just like most Mormons. Great guy. Anyway, I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Man, I think it's fake." I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "How'd you find that?" He goes, "It's all out there on the internet." I said, "Oh boy, here we go, the internet." And I said, "Well, wait till you learn about the moon landing." I removed what you don't care about. It's all good. But I literally don't care about crypto. I'm not going to say much more about that. All right, so let's dive into the dividend thing here. This will be fun. So, just as a side note, I like dividends, but some people say dividends are irrelevant. So this is Political Calculations, which this is such a good website. I'll put the link in the show notes here. Political Calculations, the S&P 500 at your fingertips. Oh yeah, dude, the Utah governor is a clown. That guy's a clown. I can't stand that guy. What a clown. Dude, that guy, just again another politician who it's like I think my man William here said, it's all the same politics. The Republican Party is controlled opposition without question. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to go down here and we're going to show you can do all kinds of different things here in terms of beginning date, ending date. This is the S&P 500. So what I want to start with 1929 and 1940. That's the beginning of the Great Depression until basically the end of the Great Depression. So we got a couple things here. So as you see, the index was at 2486, we'll just say 25, at the beginning of January of 1929. All right. At the end, it was at 1230. So it lost, basically 50% of its price. All right, 50% of its price. All right. Index rate of return without dividend reinvestment, negative 6.2. Index rate of return with dividend reinvestment, negative 1.01, 1.04. Oh, by the way, guess what's happening? This is unadjusted for inflation, because that's what I want to show you. When we adjust it for inflation, because the depression was what? Deflation. That's depression. Deflationary is depressionary. Index rate of return without, right there, negative 0.41. Negative 4.1 on an annual basis with dividends, 0.84. So during the Great Depression, dividends actually made you money, right? Anything during a depression, anything is going to make you money when prices are going down that has a fixed or growing rate of income. Anything will. Cash, bonds, dividends. As long as the dividends can continue to get paid. Don't forget, a couple big companies increased their dividends in 1929 or 1930. All right, so all these people say, the market's blah, blah. They increased their dividends because they're still making positive cash flow. So even though there's a Great Depression, dividends were still getting paid by and large. Not all the companies. Interesting. So anything that gives you a cash flow during a period of prices falling, deflationary, will be positive. 100%. That's why bonds are such a wonderful thing if we have a deflationary time frame. Now, all these people say it'll never happen. And I said, what happened in Japan? It did happen in Japan. We had a deflationary, low inflation, deflationary, and your fixed income, even though it's fixed, it did quite well. Even though the Bank of Japan was printing money like it's going out of business. Very interesting, isn't it? Oh, printing money is always and everywhere inflationary. And we always know that inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. It did not happen in Japan. It did not happen in Japan. It did not happen in the aughts from 2008 until basically 2022. It did not happen. Printing money like a freaking drunken sailor, dude. And we did not have inflation of any significance, not relative to what people were screaming about in 2007, 8, and 9. Japan did not have any inflation. Fixed income in Japan, even though the Bank of Japan was printing like it was going out of style, your fixed income and performed very, very well. And now dividends aren't fixed income. They're growing income. That's what makes dividends so wonderful. All right, let's keep going here. I want to show you. We're going to keep going. So we're going to go down to share screen again. Now we're going to go from 1948, all right, to 1968. Well, that was the major market run-up that we've had. 1948. That's when the market just went friggin' crushing to 1968. And this is the time I was talking to that guy, Edward Macquarie, about how the bond market just got destroyed during this time. All right, so here you can see the S&P 500 went up from 15 to 95. So I don't know what's a factor of whatever that is. So this is in the most profitable investment time. So bonds got destroyed during this time frame relative to stocks. I mean, the growth on stocks relative to bonds will never be repeated again, ever. It is that decimating for bonds and that profitable for stocks. And you look at dividends. Index rate of return without dividend reinvestment, you average 10% a year. So you're doubling your money every 7.2 years, basically. But look at that, with dividend reinvestment, 14.57. When you factor in inflation, 7.76. Without dividends, 12.5 with dividends. All right, so there is a relatively low period of inflation and high growth. So we had deflation, dividends crushed. Low inflation, high growth, dividends crushed. Now, you could say it's a different model. You know what I'm saying? We don't pay as much dividends. We're going to get that. Now let's look at the high inflationary times, 1966 to 1982. Go back to political calculations. Let's look at the high inflation time, 1966 to 1982. 1966, right there. You make me feel like dancing and prancing. Little Pablo, he's not so slow. 1966 and 1982. Calculate. The S&P 500 went from 93 to 117. Not a very big jump over that 16-year time frame. Unadjusted, what's adjusted for inflation? Inflation 7.03. Without dividend rate of return, minus 5.22. With dividends, minus 1.42. You still lost money, net of inflation, but you lost a hell of a lot more if you didn't have your dividends reinvested. All right, so we have deflationary times. We have low inflation, high growth. We have high inflation. Now we're going to go to the aughts. All right, actually, I'll tell you what, let's go to 1982 to 1999. Low inflation, high growth. We're going to go another low inflation, high growth scenario here. You made me feel like dancing. Dancing hideaway. You made me feel like romancing. I don't care what you say. All right, we're going to go to 1982 to 1999. We're going to go to the end of 1999. Right there. 1999. Right there. Calculate. I mean, even here with low inflation, dividends, without dividends, 11.31. With dividends, 14.83. All right, now let's just go to the aughts. All right, we're going to go from 2000, where we had negative returns in the markets, low growth and low inflation. 2000, go to end of 2009. Actually, just go to March of 2009, right there. So the market bottomed out. Dividends, without dividends, -9. With dividends, 7.4. All right, lastly, let's go to now. We're going to end up, am I sharing this? Yeah, okay, sweet. And we're going to go now to 2009 March, when the markets bottomed out. Around her head, she wore a yellow ribbon, wore it in the springtime in the merry month of May. And if you asked her why the hell she wore it for that soldier who was far, far away, far away. Again, massive growth, low inflation, dividends without reinvestment, dividends with reinvestment, 20% higher. I mean, it's not even debatable. The issue is some people say we're just shooting for growth. And the facts are, if you shoot for growth, you better get the growth. Because even with this day and age where they're buying back shares, not even paying much in dividends, because remember, from 2000, basically last 25 years, probably even before that, but this century has been all about share buybacks, not dividends. Share buybacks. And yet what's happening with dividends relative to share buybacks, even in this stage of the market economy, of the capital markets, even dividends still gave you a 20% increase in your rate of return than without the dividends. It's just a fact. So we've had 5 examples: high growth, low inflation, dividends; low growth, high inflation, dividends; deflation, dividends. Every single time it's been dividends have proven it's just not frankly debatable. It's just not. Dividends reinvested, by the way. Don't take dividends as cash. Dividends reinvestment. Why does this work? It's so simple. Why does dividends reinvestment work? And the reason it works is because it's dollar cost averaging. We all know that dollar cost averaging works better than just what happens with dollar cost averaging is you're buying shares as the market is volatile. So you're putting money in. The market goes like this, and you're buying shares here. And when you're buying shares like that, you're buying sometimes low, sometimes high. When on average, you're buying shares at a lower price than if you just bought. If you just bought, like, what do they say, like one time, essentially. Dollar cost averaging works wonders because it says I'm just putting money in. I'm not trying to time the market. I'm just going to put money in on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, weekly basis, whatever. And what does dividends do? Well, when you're reinvesting, because they pay out, let's just say they pay quarterly. Every quarter, you're reinvesting those dividends in a share price that's either up, down, or sideways. Sometimes it's going to be down. And those dividends that you're reinvesting are buying a portion of shares. Might not be a full share, but sometimes it could be. It could be 10 shares, whatever, how much you have in that. That's buying it when the prices are low. Which, if the prices are inherently biased towards the up, that will be a profitable endeavor for you. It forces you to do that. I've had so many brokers I've talked to in my career. They don't reinvest their clients' dividends. And I know why they don't, because they don't get paid on reinvesting clients' dividends. This is the old days of being a stockbroker. I get paid to sell or buy a stock. You don't get paid a commission on reinvesting dividends. So what these guys would do, is, to my horror, is that they just hoard the dividends, the cash they get from dividends. So they buy 100 shares of GE, just whatever. And GE is paying a 5% dividend, for simplicity. It's $50 a share. I've just literally thrown it out there. They take the $50 a share and they build up this cash hoard. Why do they build up the cash hoard? Because now they get $10,000 of cash hoard. They're called the clients. Hey, we've got $10,000 of this cash hoard. My company research likes freaking, I don't know, Cisco stock. Let's buy some Cisco. Oh, I happen to get paid a 5% commission on that. Crazy, man. Crazy. All right, explain what monetized debt means, Celtic Spirit. I hear this all the time. Explain to me what monetized debt means. Explain that, please. I'd like to hear how people say what monetized debt is. Debt. Anyway, so the point, look at it. The dollar costs $1,000 a month. When the boomers all hit retirement, their spending decreases. How much deflation? Well, that's the issue, man. We've been talking about this for years. When the boomers spend, it's going to knock the stock market off. It just hasn't happened. Hasn't happened. We've been talking about this for freaking decades. It'd be a great, they call it something, whatever they call it. But they said, hey, the boomers are going to spend. They're going to sell their shares. It hasn't happened. It's not going to happen. I mean, there could be a mass sell-off, I guess, but not because the boomers are spending money. So what would that tell you? When the boomers all hit retirement, all their spending decreases. How much deflationary? Oh, you're saying, okay, so you're saying spending decreases. Okay. Yeah, well, that's actually, I actually think that the deflationary stuff is from the debt, you know what I'm saying? But it hasn't happened yet. The debt I thought would be, because the boomers aren't spending. So I misread your comment, really. Really? I misread your comment. I thought you said when they start selling stuff. You actually said when the boomers stop spending as much. Dude, I completely agree with you, 100%. Then you factor in the younger generation, they're still heavy in mortgages, and they're going to be so heavy in student loan debt and whatnot. Where's the spending going to come from? Discretionary spending, 100%. We need tons of principal or value solely relying on dividends. Yeah, I completely agree. The yield on SP 500 is like 1.7 right now, 100%. All right, people have been saying this forever. Japan has a high savings rate and zero immigration. You got to read that book, the Holy Grail of Macroeconomics by Richard Koo. The savings rate, the savings rate in of itself. My man Andrew Biggs was emailing me back and forth about he was talking about the savings rate in the United States, how bad it is. No, I completely disagree. I hear this all the time: the savings rate, the savings rate, the savings rate. And let's just take a look at the savings rate, because I find this to be somewhat, not disingenuous, not the right word. Fred, savings rate. Because I actually talked about this in one of my books about the savings rate. Let's look at this right here. We're going to look at the U.S. savings rate, and we're going to say, right here. All right, so here's a savings rate, and you can see from 1960 to 1970 is at 10 to from 1960 to 1970 is at 10 to 13%. All right. So that would imply that the market was kicking ass and taking names, right? Well, from 1966 to 1982, I just showed you, it did not kick ass and take names. This is what I find to be somewhat not the right word, misunderstood or something like that. Here we are from 1960. The savings rate, 1959 was at 11.3%. Your personal savings rate. Fast forward to 1970, So it's, again, it's 11.2. Fast forward to 1970, right there. Now it's at about 12%, right there. Now the savings rate from 1970 till 1980 was at 10.1. There was no growth here, basically, in the markets at all. 1982, the savings rate is 12.2. And then what happens? It falls off a cliff to 1999 to 4%. It fell from 12. That's a 75% decrease in the personal savings rate. What happened to the markets? They took off like a bat out of hell. They did. They did. So the savings rate being one of these things about the great growth of the markets is just not true. I mean, this isn't to say it can't be true. I don't know. But look, the savings rate is, it's right here. It fell off a cliff. Oh, what's one of the other reasons why the savings rate fell off a cliff? Oh, because they raised the taxes on Social Security, by the way. Right? So your Social Security taxes are higher now than they used to be back then. Huh. And what happens when retirees get Social Security? They spend the money. But going back to what the other guy said, I think it's fun. No, it was a fun guy. It was really, he said, what happens when the baby boomers don't spend as much money? What does that do for a deflationary cost? That's my thought process precisely. Debt on the younger generation, less spending on the older generation, and my generation squeezed. We just aren't a very big generation. I 100% think it's deflationary. So we can't sit there and say the savings rate is what led to high growth, at least in the stock market, certainly not the economy, because we actually see huge growth in the economy from 1982 to 1999, and the savings rate decreased by 75%. Low growth in the economy when the savings rate was high. We just can't make that correlation, and people do all the time. They do it all the time. And then you look at Japan, had an incredibly high savings rate, and the same thing, low economic growth. It's just a fact, man. Just a fact. Now, does that mean we should be saving? No, I'm not saying that at all. But we can't make these assumptions that, hey, savings equals freaking growth in the economy. There isn't any validation to back that claim in terms of, if the sun rises in the east and tomorrow we'll look to the east and the sun will rise. You can't say high savings equals growth of the economy. It doesn't work like that. All right, let's look at personal debt. Let's take a look, shall we? Personal debt. So we're going to go over here, and we're going to see what our debt levels are. This is from the not from BLS. This is from the Survey of Consumer Finances. All right, let's go to debt. This is total home debt, total debt. All right, so we got from 1989 to 2022. All right, so we're going to see here. We can do it by ages. Let's not do that. Let's start with the old people. Old people's debt, interesting. Old people's debt has risen from this is right here, $6,800, and this is in 2022 dollars, $6,800 to $36,000 and $22. All right, so old people's debt has grown from 6.8 to 36. That's people 75 and older. All right, now let's look at the percentage of people actually holding debt. 53%. So 43% aren't even holding debt, but that's still higher than it was in 1989. In 1999, only 21% were holding debt. So we've doubled the amount of people holding debt, and for this old people now, and we've increased the amount of debt from 6.8 to 36. So we've doubled the amount of people holding debt, and we've increased the debt 6 times. But still, almost half the people aren't holding debt. But now let's look at the net worth for these people. Actually, let's look at assets, because net worth, it takes into consideration debt. Here's the assets. $189,000 in 1989. That's in 2022 dollars to $382,000 now. So they've increased their debt level. This group of people, they've increased their debt level by $30,000 in 2022 dollars, and half the people, they've 50%. It went from they doubled the amount of people with debt. But then we look at their assets. Their assets went from 189 to 382. Went up from $200,000. So that's old people. Debt went up by 30,000. Assets went up by 200,000. Not too. Am I showing this? Yeah, sweet. So let's look at the other population here. Oops, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Right here. So that's old people. Now let's go to this group right here. And we're going to start with debt. So their debt, and again, this is 2022 numbers, was $11,553 in 1989. It went up to $45,000. So it increased by 400%, a factor of 4. That's their total debt. How many people are holding debt? 50% in 1989, 65% in 2022. All right. So there went up by a factor of 4, the debt level. Again, it went from, what do we say? 11,000 to 45,000. What did their assets go up by? Assets went from 200,000 to 474,000. So their debt went up by, what do we say, 40,000 bucks or something like that. The assets went up again by almost 200. Went up by, oh hell, that's freaking $300,000. Not too shabby. Let's look up this group of people here. This is, I keep going assets. I want to go to debt. So their debt went up from 22,000 in 2022 to 90,000, a factor of not quite 5. Let's say 4.5. But it did go up by, what's that? $70,000. Percent holding debt went from 70% to 77%. So percent holding debt increased by 10%. All right. So let's take a look at their assets. Their assets went from 282 to 473. Again, another $200,000 of assets. So you can see the debt has gone up. I wouldn't say substantially though, and the assets have gone up even more. Well, you can't spend assets. Certainly you can. Absolutely. Absolutely you can. And then if you want to just look at credit cards though, because this includes home debt. Home debt. Let's just look at credit card balances. 2,000. This is for no, I'm not quite this age group. 2,000 in 1989 to 3,000 in 2022. That's a median credit card debt for the age group 55 to 64. How many people hold credit cards? 33% in 1989, 44%. I mean, less than half. That doesn't seem like a heavy credit card burden to me. 2,000. This is the median, not the mean. The median. The 3,000. That's not huge. Let's look at the older groups here. Credit card balances went from 1,270 to 3,050 in 2022 dollars. Percent holding credit cards is at 33%. So 2/3 of the population of this age group don't even have credit card debt. And the people who do, the median amount they have is $3,050, $3,500. Doesn't seem all that extraordinary to me. Older people, they had $500 in credit card debt in 1989. They got $1,700 in credit card debt in 2022. How many people actually have a credit card? 29%. Basically, 70% of the people don't even carry a credit card at that age. Let's go to my age group because that's the only age group that matters. My age group. We went from 50% of the people had credit card debt to now 57% of the people have credit card debt. The median credit card balance was $2,300 in 1989. It's $3,000 now. That's just not significant. It's just not. I mean, look, I have a credit card debt. I don't like it. I try to pay it off every month. Right now, I got hit with a tax, so I'm going to take a couple months to pay it off. It sucks. But again, the whole point about the debt isn't on the credit card; it's on the home mortgages. And the reason the mortgages are more expensive because the houses cost more. It's just the time. It's just a fact. The reason the houses cost more is because they're scarce. Yeah, crazy. I want to talk about something else on that too, though. So everyone thinks of personal savings, like again, my man Andrew Biggs. I like it. I'm a big fan of Andrew Biggs. I just said, yeah, but where's the proof of that? And the personal savings leads to high economic growth. And what his argument, I'm not trying to freaking straw man here. Straw man just means I'm building up an argument he didn't say so I can tear it down. We don't want to do. Straw man arguments are weak. Like what my man Ted says. Oh, because I said I don't know if I believe, the bread and the wine are actual Jesus Christ. I don't know if I believe that. And I'm just using this for example. And Ted said, you said you did not believe that. That's a straw man, and I'm just using that for an example because it hit me. I didn't say that though. So Ted could say, and I liked it. He didn't say this. Ted could say, well, Josh says that Jesus isn't actually on the table, and we know Josh is wrong because Catholics think Jesus is, and that would make me seem like I'm wrong. But I never said that. I said I don't know that to be true. You see, that's a straw man argument. You're building up a false argument so you could tear it down, and that's just weak stuff. And again, I'm not saying Ted said that. Don't put this on Ted. I just use that for an example of how straw man arguments are made. But anyway, so the issue would have to come is what the economists would say is when we have high debt, government debt, this is governmental debt, and we have high low personal savings, that there's not as much growth on GDP. And then you have to say, okay, well, and I showed them historically. I said, well, that doesn't jive with actual data. It doesn't, man. I mean, was there an example of high savings in the 50s and 60s, or 40s, late 40s to mid 60s of high growth with high savings rate? The answer is 100% unequivocally. Was there another example with high savings rate and low growth? Absolutely. Was there another example with low savings rate and high growth? Absolutely. You see what I'm saying? Was there an example of huge amounts of governmental spending on the Reagan and going into Clinton and high growth? Unequivocally. Was there amounts of government not spending much relative to surplus, relative to budget deficits, whatnot, and no growth? 100%. That was during the Nixon/Carter years. It's just, you can't. This is the thing about economists, man. It's like they'll look at a number, and this is the thing about investors too. They'll say, well, this happened in the past, thus it's sacrosanct. The dogs of the Dow, the Phillips curve, all this stuff. And just because it's the 4% rule, I mean, all this stuff, just because you've witnessed it doesn't mean it's going to happen again. And then when you look at other data sets that said that's not what happened this other time, you can't even say it's a correlation. If you're good, you can't, man. You gotta say, well, if low debt led to high economic growth, let's even look at this. Well, I mean, look, it's crazy. We go to trading economics. I haven't looked at this for a couple of weeks, so you just can't say that unless low debt means high economic growth. Then you have to say, here are the examples every single time it's been tried. And you can't. And in fact, the Republicans make a mistake on this too. I just want to talk about with tax policy. They'll always I used to listen to Sean Hannity. I haven't listened to Sean Hannity in 15 years because the guy's just stupid. He's a clown. But he used to say, I said, no, you can't say that. Lowering taxes leads to more revenue for the government. And the reason they say that is because it happened under the Laffer curve. Arthur Laffer said, if we lower taxes, there's actually going to open up a huge amount of economic activity that right now is being suppressed, and that will lead to more tax revenue for the government. And that was true. Kind of like when he got rid of making gold, you got rid of the fake top on gold. It's almost like when you get rid of any price control, there's always immediate burst of activity. We had a price control on gold from FDR to Nixon. Got rid of the price control. Remember, it's illegal to trade gold. It was illegal. You could not do it legally. You were a criminal if you did. Anyway, so you had this ceiling on gold, the price of gold, which is well below the true market value. They got rid of the ceiling, prices shot up until the true market value was defined, and that was, people said it was $800 in 1980, but that wasn't the true market value, because then we see it went back down again. For many years, it was way down. Kind of like when they have a price control on gasoline. All these commie countries will put price controls on things and say, oh, no, we can't charge more than $1 a gallon of gasoline. Well, then what you're doing is you're creating scarcity,
which makes the prices inherently even bump up against the price control, because people say, I can't make any money with a price at $1. I need to make, I can't, so I'm not going to deliver any gas to you. Same thing. The whole thing is so stupid. Price controls are the worst economic thing there is. Minimum wage and price controls are the two worst economic policies there could ever possibly be. So now you say, I'm going to put a cap, $1 a gallon on gasoline. People say, I can't afford to produce any gasoline if I can only charge $1 for it. We don't care. It's a price control. Then I'm not going to produce it because I'm losing money for every gallon of gasoline I sell. And so what happens? Then there's less and less gas made, which was that due to the price. It bumps up even more against the freaking ceiling, this artificial ceiling it created. Because there isn't any. Then all goes into the underground market, which is what De Soto talked about in The Other Path, talked about Peru, the underground market in Peru, because the Peruvian socialists, they say, we're going to put caps on all this stuff. And people say, I can't make a profit of $1 a gallon. Thus, I'm going to sell it underground in the black market, the other path. And the economic activity in Greece and Peru, many, many heavily regulated countries, more economic activity in the illicit trades than there is in the above ground trade. Because you can't make a profit in this. When you have a price control, you say no. And there's price control on gold, price control on oil, price control on gasoline, price control on freaking everything. Rent control in New York City. It's insane. Rent control is evil too. Evil. And these idiots, even my dad, turned out when I was cleaning my mom's house, my dad had run for Portland, Maine City Council. And I saw one of his campaign things where he wanted rent control. I said, that's how stupid and ignorant he was. Back then, he turned around. In his later years, became a pretty stringent libertarian. He was actually a staff member of the Cato Institute, National Center for Policy Analysis. So he was an idiot back then, and I guarantee he would, if he was alive, he would tell you he was at that point. But it's like, he used me in his ads, by the way, as when I was just a baby. Rent control. You can't have rent control. It's stupid. It's just a dumb economic policy. Minimum wage is stupid as well. The biggest ones, any kind of price controls, minimum wage is a price control, rent control is a price control. Any kind of price control is evil inherently. You're robbing people of their labor, and you're going to create scarcity, which makes it more scarce, which makes the prices want to go up. So what happened is you got rid of the gold, you allowed gold to be legally traded again. And what happened is just shot up, because that's what always happens when you get rid of the price control. And then slowly it comes back down to the real price. 100 is what happens all the time. I don't know why I just went off that tangent. I don't know what I did. But anyway, so let's talk about, that's what it's the Laffer curve. So the Laffer curve, we had high tax rates, 70% of the top tax bracket. You had massive amounts of deductions you could take, by the way. And then on the TRA, the Tax Reform Act, we had TEFRA, and the TEFRA was in 86 and TRA was in 82, or the other way around. I can't remember, but Reagan signed two major tax policies. One just had basically a flat tax, essentially. It's like 28 and 10 or something like that. I can't remember what it was. And then one in 1986 got rid of massive amounts of deductions to include real estate deductions. And we had it led to huge disconnects in real estate markets. And if you remember Texas back in the day, the savings and loans and all that, massive amounts. That's where we had MET contracts on life insurance, by the way, modified endowment contracts. Massive amounts of decline and just because they got rid of the tax preferential treatment on. You used to be able to write off credit card debt. Did you know that? Credit card debt was a deductible expense, or your interest on credit card debt was a deductible expense. It was either TRA or the TEFRA. One of those two got rid of it. I can't remember which one. And what happened was when they but with the 1986, with that. Yeah, 100%, Ted. Freaking idiots, dude. These people are so stupid. They're trying, it's a taking. It's a taking of private property. Yeah, but Liberty, was it the TEFRA or the TRA in 19? I got to look it up now. I can't remember. I'm not going to look it up. It's crazy. So what happened was they got rid of all the preferences, and all of a sudden people were like, I don't get a tax benefit owning this investable real estate. Nope. Ooh, okay. And so real estate market just got destroyed. Many people went bankrupt. Led to savings and loans going bankrupt. It's crazy. You look it up, Jeremy. I'm doing a live stream, Jeremy. Look it up. Get your Filipina lady to look it up for you. Look it up. Anyway, so the point being was when you have this, you have the Laffer curve, you have 70% nominal tax, marginal tax rate for the highest income earner, 70%. And what Arthur Laffer said is, if we get rid of that top tax rate, it's going to, because that's a price control essentially. It's going to open up. It's going to open up massive amounts of economic activity. And he was right. TEFRA was 82 and TRA was 86. Right on. All right, there we go. TRA is the Tax Reform Act. TEFRA is tax. I can't remember what TEFRA stands for anymore. Tax. I can't remember. Someone's got to look it up. I can't remember. Anyway, so and he was right. So he opened up massive amounts of tax equivalent, no tax equalization. I can't remember what TEFRA stands for. Can't believe it. Anyway, so long story short, he got rid of the price control and tax essentially. It opened up Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act. Look at Brian Dish coming in from freaking Pittsburgh, if memory serves. Yeah. Look at William. He thinks TEFRA. William, not the brightest bulb. TEFRA has an A in there, William. And William's like, this is tax equity, TEFR. TEFR. No, it's TEFRA, William. Just simple directions. TEFRA. What does it stand for? And William says, it stands for Tax Equity and Responsibility. Well, that does not TEFRA. Yeah. Credit card, all about 100%, man. Look at, see, Ted. Look at Ted back on the channel here. You know, I hit on Ted a little bit. Not in a sexual way, if you know what I'm saying. That's all good. We can be friends here. Anyway, so what the hell is that topic? All right. So William Laffer does this. He gets rid of it, and he's right. Revenue to the government grew like crazy. No one knew that. You see, you're assuming. You know what happens when you assume, William? You make an ass out of you and me. And I don't like being an ass. Not if you're living in Maine. You can't be thin-skinned if you're living in Maine. It's too cold up there. So he was right. But all these idiot Republicans say every time they'll use like freaking Sean Hannity because he's just not very smart. Every time we reduce taxes, the revenue goes to the government. And that's just not true. That's just, right here. My dad was a big limited partnership guy. Yeah, 100% right there. It's just not true. And we see that Kansas led Stan Brown back, reduced taxes, and they did not have an increase in revenue to the government. And I think he lost his governorship because of that. We've had other tax cuts that did not increase government revenue. So you can't sit there and say because we have tax cuts we're going to increase government revenue. Yes, you can identify a time that it happened, but you have to know the history of why that happened because so many people were holding back on investing and raising funds and being capitalists essentially because of the huge tax rates. They're like, why would I take the risk? Yep, South Dakota, what I'm saying. Isn't it kind of cool to see? I don't know what was the credit card rates back. That's good. I don't know. That's interesting. What were the credit card rates back then? You're saying they were lower? I think they'd be higher, man. Just because they could deduct the credit, the interest, and especially the interest rates are higher than I can't imagine credit card rates were higher or lower back then than they are now. I can't see. I might be wrong. I don't see how that could possibly be though. All right. So then we identify this time period, and then idiots will say that's exemplifying. Oh yeah, but they were 18%. Yeah, but now they're like 27%. Some of these credit cards is crazy. Look at Kathleen Fury. There's an old white receiver from the Detroit Lions in the 80s. I think he played, not the aughts. I think he played alongside Calvin Johnson. Michael Furry, who had like 100 receptions in like 2008 or something like that, 2007 or 2008. And he never got another look. I said, that's weird. I think his name's Michael Furry. Never got another look, even though he had like 100 catches in 1 year. Obviously, he's playing offside of, on the other side, I think it was Calvin Johnson. I was like, what? How's Michael Furry not get another look? We all know why. Anyway, so just because we have an incident where X happened doesn't mean it's going to be it'll happen again. There's no economics are just so. All right, so let's go back to trading economics. I want to share with you guys here because I think this is interesting. All right, so now we're gonna come down. Look at Mao. Mao. I wish they did like the Mao, like they did Mussolini. They did to Cusco. What the hell's that guy's name? Is Romania? Cusco. Freaking. All right. So let's take a look here, shall we? We're gonna look at here's our countries and growth, GDP. We're gonna look at debt to GDP. Let's start with this right here. And we can see the debt to GDP for Japan is 264. The debt to GDP of the US is 129. France, Canada, UK. Because remember, there's a big difference if it's 97 or 102, a huge difference. Many economists will say the debt to GDP ratio went above 100. Oh my goodness. As if it's 97.6, it's okay. But if it goes to 101, oh my goodness, we're all going to die. And anyway, so we come down here and we're going to see here. Oh, look at Russia. Debt to GDP, 17. Interesting. Australia, 22. Brazil, 72. China. I mean, is there any evidence at all that lowered? And then if we want to keep going here, watch this. It's going to get even uglier down here. UAE. Actually, let me go back and make this right there. There we go. So we're going to come down here and say, look at these. There's Angola, debt to GDP. Look at Israel, 60. Nicaragua. Myanmar. Croatia. Colombia, where the ladies are fine. I hear. I've never been there, but I heard the ladies are fine in Colombia. Whatever country that is. Albania. Look at the debt to GDP. Look at that, Josh. Low debt to GDP means huge economic growth. And it just doesn't. It's silly. That doesn't mean high debt to GDP means high economic growth. Remember, we're not saying X means Y. If X, then Y. We're not saying that. We're just saying it's completely randomized. Right? If you look at the government budget here. Norway's got a surplus. Kuwait's got, what do all these countries have in common? Norway, Kuwait, and UAE. What do all these countries have in common for the government budget? You guys want to take a guess? Norway, UAE, and what was the other one? And Kuwait. What do all those countries have in common for government budgets being massive amounts of surplus? Who wants to take a gander at what these countries have in common? Let's take a guess. Let's take a guess. Who wants to take a guess? What those countries have in common? Massive government surpluses. Norway, Kuwait, and UAE. Oil. Oil is king. Right on, John Hobbs. Right on. Oil. Big oil. Yep, you got it. Definitely not green energy, family man. Anyway, so here we got some countries have massive amounts of exports on fossil fuels. And then we got Congo. Look at that government budget. It's surplus. Bangladesh, Guinea, whatever the hell it is. Chad, Palestine. Look, Libya, Cyprus, Denmark, Oman, Ireland, Cambodia. But these are all real winners in terms of economic prowess. Then we go down here. The negative government, like Ukraine, give me a break. Cuba, Sri Lanka, Burundi. Then we come down more to the middle of the road here. Where's the United States? Like negative rate. Let's go to GDP. Actually, make it simple. Here's GDP. U.S. negative 5.8. China, Euro. All these countries are in massive amounts of debt. Every single country is a massive amount of debt. Who matters, frankly. And I mean, that's just all there is to it. It's not going away. We're all trading our debt with each other. And all these people are like, you got to have a surplus. The countries that have a surplus are these countries right here, massive amounts of oil producers, and then these other countries that don't mean anything. I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, look, debt to GDP for Norway, and Norway's got like 3 million. I don't even think Norway's got 3 million people. I mean, Iceland has like 500,000 people or something like that. It's just who cares? Kuwait. Yeah, right there. Norway's got 5.5 million people. Wow. Look at Bangladesh got 171 million people. Isn't that nuts? Look at it. Norway's got less than the state of Georgia. Crazy. Give me a break. Just the whole thing's stupid. Anyways, the point being is you can see right there that at the end of the day, the debt cycle doesn't mean anything in terms of X, Y, Z. We just can't say because this, then that. It's just not there. It's just not there. And there's nothing to do about the country's debt anyway. So I think Fun Guy said, Really? My man Michael Furry is a coach of the Gamecocks, like the wide receiver coach. Yeah, North Sea's got tons of oil, 100%, man. Yeah, I don't think you'll like what you see. If we had a currency backed by gold, you're not going to be able to buy a house. You're not going to be able to buy a house. Why do you think so few people own houses back in the earlier part of the 1900s, the 20th century? Because you can't just go to a bank. The bank can't just print money to loan you the money. That's why they didn't have 30-year mortgages and all that stuff, guys. Having a gold standard sounds great in theory. I love the Fed. Fed keep doing what the Fed's doing, man. Slowly inflating our currency. I got no problem with that at all. The alternative, if you actually look at the history when we're on a gold standard, the massive amounts of, the panics, the deflations, is insane. The amount of freaking ups and downs of the economy. Panic of what, 18, Murray Rothbard wrote a couple books on the panics. James Grant wrote a couple books on this stuff. This was during the Fed not being around. How ironic, the Fed was created the same year as, the Fed was created in 1913. The ADL was created in 1913. Kind of crazy. I think the IRS was created in 1913 as well. The Fed, the IRS, was the FBI created the same year? I can't remember if it was FBI. But there's four things that are created in 1913. The ADL, the Fed, I want to say the IRS and the FBI, but yeah, I'm not going to don't hold me to that. Anyway, so people always say they want a gold standard. And I said, why? Well, make the currency more stable. Oh, what would it now? Have you actually looked at what happened in the 1800s? Even in the 1900s, you just not see the massive inflation that happened in the first decade of the 20th century? Massive amounts of inflation. It's just massive. The Fed has been an unabridged success, man. It has, without question. Slowly inflating the currency. Because the currency is a currency. We want it to be traded. We don't want it to be hoarded. Deflation is when people hoard things. We don't want that. We want it to be moving to increase the velocity of money. And on top, if you want to buy a house, you want to buy a car. Literally, the Fed doesn't sit there and say, we're going to print this money off to give Josh, $300,000 to buy a house. They give the bank the ability to click a couple of screens on here and they create the currency. That's how it's created, just literally out of the air. So that currency is created for me to buy this house. That's literally just that simple. I use that house. I go to the bankers. I use that house to give to some, Mrs. Smith, who takes that money. She downsizes now. She'll sell me the house for $300,000, buy a house for $200,000. She has another $100,000 that's now in the market. The velocity of money is turning. That's the idea. That's the idea for sure. But the problem is you don't want to hoard your money because you're losing money on a 2 to 3% clip every year. Except you're not. Isn't that interesting? All these idiots who say, "Oh, cash, you're losing to inflation." Well, I equate cash with money market accounts and short-term bonds. Are we losing to inflation? Let's take a look. Let's take a gander, shall we? We're going to go to Portfolio Visualizer. Are we actually losing if we hold our money in cash? Let's take a gander. Let me bring up my screen so y'all can see what I'm looking at. You got to know the history of this stuff, man, everybody. The history of the economic outlook of the United States when we're on the gold standard is it's not good. It's just not. I'm reading about the building of the Brooklyn Bridge was amazing. You know what a caisson or a caisson is? It's insane what these Irish, Italian, and German immigrants were doing. They were called, I forgot what they're called, them, like sand boys or something like that. They would go under this massive, that's insane, under the water and dig out the dirt and dig out the stuff, put it on this freaking pulley that pull up. It's crazy. Look at the building of the Brooklyn Bridge, man. It's absolutely a feat of insanity. It's what a CAISSON. You think we got it bad now? My goodness, these guys. It's all immigrants. The same thing we have here. But those immigrants learned English, by the way, just FYI. They did assimilate. Might have took 2 generations, but they did assimilate. The Germans were kind of run. That's what my grandparents, my grampy, because they're German, during the World War I, they moved to Kansas City because they felt they'd be wouldn't be discriminated as much in Kansas City as they were previously because they were German citizens. And the irony of all ironies is that my granddad, who flew with John Glenn, was a test pilot with John Glenn, his older brother, Dick Deichmann, took out one of the Japanese battleships. So they were discriminated against in World War I because being German ethnicity. In World War II, he took out the Japanese battleship Chickamauga, I think is what it's called. Interesting. Anyway, so you should look up the building of the Brooklyn Bridge. Very, very interesting. All right, so let's look at. Tell me if I'm. I know. I know. Sandhogs. That's what it was. Sandhogs. Yeah, people didn't have 30-year mortgages. Exactly. They didn't have 30-year mortgages. That's why 2/3 of the people did not own a home. Only 1/3 of the people own a home. They never. Oh, really? They never hit bedrock when digging for the. All right. Well, I didn't get that far yet. That's interesting. I'm still halfway through the story. That's interesting, dude. It's amazing what people used to do. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We hear that all the time. We say, "Oh, okay. I didn't realize African Americans were from Germany, Irish, Ireland, and Italy." But who knew? We was gangs. We was gangs. We're all Nigerian princes. Oh my goodness, that's too funny. 100%, man. Middle class was created after World War II. Is relatively. I could not, dude. Celtic spirit is hitting on the head. 100%. 100%. I'm telling you, you just got to look at the old. I'm going to show you something here before we go to play. Look at Kathleen. Are you from South Carolina, Kathleen? You guys want to see something crazy? Yeah, that's great. Your granddad did. The vast majority did not, though. That's the thing. Check this out. We're going to look at this if I have it up here. 1 second. The one thing about our government that is awesome is they keep this stuff that you can just download. It's freaking awesome. I love it. I can read this all day long because I'm such a freaking loser. This is the Federal Reserve in 1929. This is them talking about raising interest rates to deal with speculation in the stock market right here. Reserve Bank credit, money raised bank. There's so much stuff. Like this is, it's like histoire. It's great. I love this stuff. And you can get all this stuff for free just looking up the Federal Reserve Bulletin. It just is so much stuff you can look up. And then when you look this stuff up, you're like, holy crap, everything I was told was just wrong. Everything I was told is just wrong. While Liberty's granddad was buying houses, most people weren't buying houses because they didn't have $4,500 in cash. You just look at the data. It's crazy. Vast majority of people didn't have. Remember, $4,500 in cash in 1930s is a hell of a lot of money. People just didn't have this laying around. They had to get a mortgage, and back then it was a 5-year adjustable mortgage. And the bank had called in the mortgage. The bank had called in. They give you 5 years to pay it off. You was like, you want to extend it? They might extend it, but they might not. Isn't that crazy? The bankers are saying, no, we're not going to extend your mortgage. Why? Well, because we found out that you voted for Trump. I mean, they can do whatever the hell they want. It's 5 years. And I want to say that because the vast majority is speculative or subjective, but a significant majority of people did not own their homes. Again, as I started this whole thing, they rented. And the homeowners, generally speaking, had privies. I cannot stress this enough, which is outhouses. Never mind central air conditioning, all that. A lot of these guys didn't have electricity because the homeowners are usually out, the freaking white trash people way out here. It's crazy. Again, the savings rate people had, they weren't saving like we think of it today. Most people did not save. If they saved anything, it was in a life insurance contract. The only people who saved were the executives and the higher earners. That's it. In terms of like a market. It's just, it's nuts to me. But man, right on. My man gets it. Middle class is a relatively new phenomenon, 100%. But before most people were working for a small gilded guy, 100%. I mean, it's the Federal Reserve has been wonderful in this regard. I don't know what the animosity towards the Fed is. It's the weirdest thing to me. I'm like, why? I'm not picking on liberty here. I'm just saying, you want to go back? You want to go back? Do you know what it was like back then? I mean, you were literally at the banker's whims, at your landlord's whims. You're a liberal. Not a liberal, at least. I just recognize at the end of the day, all these people have rose-colored glasses for the past, as we all do. We always look back to the past with fondness, 100%. I mean, I think there's a poem that even talks about that. Anyway, so let's go to backtest portfolio visualizer because I want to show you guys something. Cash is the trash. Cash will lose to inflation. So, okay, well, if you leave it in your freaking safe box, sure. But if you invest it in, I think I had to do cash. What do I have to type in here? Cash right there. If you invest it in cash, no portfolio, I got to put 100% there. Boink. Right, put 100%. Click on that. And then we're going to do, how do I do this here? I got to do inflation. Yeah, right. So we had $10,000 of cash in 1984. It's worth $35,000 in 2024. We hit inflation adjusted. $10,000 in cash in 1984 is worth $11,000, about $12,000 today. That's net of inflation. Did cash lose to inflation? No, cash beat inflation. I mean, it just did. This is just cash. I think if I can go over to right here, if I click on that guy, I'm not sure it's going to work. We're going to try it. Hold on just a second. Yeah, see if that will work for me. I might not go back. Yeah, right here. Go back to 1935. Look at that. $10,000 invested in cash in 1934 was worth $10,000 bucks. It's worth $216,000 in 2024. Let's look at inflation adjusted. $10,000 invested in 1934 is worth $9,300 today. That lost a little bit of money relative to inflation. Not much. Basically kept up. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? If we go to $10,000 invested in 1934. I don't know if I buy that because it right there. Look at that right there. I'm not sure what they're using for cash here. They're using, yeah, right there. 1935, positive returns, positive returns, positive returns, always positive returns. Isn't that crazy? You just didn't lose money if you invested in just T-bills. That's all you had to do. Invest in T-bills and you're fine. Anyway, SGov for cash. All right, we'll try that. SGov. I don't know. If it's an ETF, it hasn't been around very long, so we don't have much of a track record. But we'll try it. SGOV. Yeah, it just hasn't been around very long, but we'll try it. Yeah, there you go. 10,000 to 10,728. That only goes back to 2 years, so that's no big deal. What is the one? There's a bond fund that goes back. I can't remember what it's called. We go to Vanguard, short-term bond index. Right there. I mean, this isn't cash, but we'll just use it anyway. Vanguard short-term bond fund, adjusted for inflation. Yeah, $10,000 invested in 1994 is worth $13,000 now. And so everyone who says cash, cash bucket and VUSXX Vanguard. Berry, New York and Florida, right on Kathleen. Of course, it's a cartel. Absolutely, it's 100% a banking cartel. Without question, it is. Absolutely, which is why the whole thing about Bitcoin is so stupid. The idea that the Fed in cahoots with the federal government and look, they scratch each other's back, are going to let this secondary currency replace a dollar is it's mind-bogglingly dumb to me. They're not going to say, oh yeah, you go ahead, you counter our inflated currency. It's just, I can't believe people fall for this. We have it so good now, man. Read my mortgage in small print. There's an acceleration clause. I don't know what that is. Yeah, Dave McCullough is a pretty good writer. He wrote a couple books I read. Yeah, dude. Look at that. I know, man. What's up with that? How come if you want to go to my Catholic church, they don't speak Cantonese or Mandarin? What's up with that? Huh? That's not cool. They speak Spanish, but not Mandarin or Cantonese. Dude, yeah, those guys. I did, man. Damn. Ted Burns did a great documentary about the Brooklyn Bridge. Oh, I gotta read that or watch that. From 1400s and early 19, the world did not change at all. People still move. Yeah, well, it's crazy. It's not just from 1400s. It's like well before that. Isn't that nuts? It's literally, it's nuts. They talk about it's like CO2. There's the anti-greenies. They'll say, "Oh, you don't like CO2, do you?" And they show how CO2 was just flat from from Jesus till 1850, maybe 1820. Then CO2 started taking off, as did economic output, standard of living. It's amazing. It's literally the world didn't change at all. I was just listening. A guy said, maybe it was a guy in the church I went to today. He said the three major things that happened. It was a guy in church. The printing press was one. The compass. I read this. The printing press, a compass was another. And I forgot the third one. Like those are three major changes that happened: the compass, the printing press, and something else. I was like, before the industrial age. You think about it, we didn't have. I'm just watching these guys I'm reading this book on the Brooklyn Bridge. There wasn't any horsepower for a pump. It was all manual. There was no electricity. They didn't have lights down there. It's insane. And yet they're digging out with picks and axe. And they're putting on this freaking, this scaffolding essentially, and they're putting up. It's insanity. There's no pumps, and they got to pump compressed air down in there to keep the water out, because if there's not enough air, the water starts leaking in. And I'm like, and I haven't got to the point where I don't know how they did that. I haven't got to the point where they figured out how to pump compressed air, or where they get it. I don't know how they did it. I don't. Yeah, 100%. I have a question. Says Rich P. Is there a retirement software that takes account dividend income? Yeah, but the problem is you can't take into account dividend income because we don't know what the dividend income will be, Rich. See, that's the issue. So all dividend income is going to be. If we're looking at, like, I have a 2% dividend income on my right capital. So a lot of people say, well, my dividends are more than that. How's right capital going to know that? How's any software going to know that? Dividends change. The dividend payouts change. The dividend amount changes. We just don't know. So it's always going to be presumed dividend income. And you can say, some people say, well, use the dividends of the past. Well, that's just stupid too, because the dividends, the payout ratios change. So why would we want to use something from the past specifically to the dividend? When the dividend, the amount of dividends have changed, the payout ratios changed. Now they're doing buybacks and stuff like that. So yes, there is software that will take into account dividend income, but the dividend income is completely subjective. A lot of people say that. They'll say, hey, I'm getting $8,000 a year on dividends, and they want to extrapolate that as if they're getting $8,000 a year adjusted with a 3% inflation for the next 30 to 40 years. Okay, we don't know that. But so for me, we're looking at total returns. 2% dividend, 5, I think what I use that 2%, maybe a 1.5, I can't remember. 2% dividend, 4% earnings growth, a 6% total return. That's what we use. Now, if it's in a brokerage account, Right Capital knows that of that 6% total return, 2% dividend income, of which I think I have 85% qualified dividend income. I don't want to get too deep in this right now, but it's all subjective, speculative. We just don't know. So yeah, but again, if you're just looking at returns of 8% a year, well, how's that concocted? A portion has got to be return of a dividend, and a portion has got to be capital gain. I would think if they're only just saying 8% a year, that's yeah. I don't know what I think we said. I don't know what acceleration clause is.
Find treasure directs of pain. Yeah, I find treasure directs of pain now. Yeah, high yield savings accounts. Yeah, SPACs. I got a lot of people got SPACs money market account. I was just listening to Peter Steele, who was tyrants hate competition 100%, man. That's why they never let Bitcoin take off. It's weird to me that people don't get it. What is Bitcoin doing? Like 63 or something like that right now? And I know, look, people do whatever the hell they want. I don't care. The idea that Bitcoin is going to replace the dollar is so silly to me that it'll even be allowed. It's just not going to happen. And so it's inherently not a currency. It's not transacted like a currency inherently. Bitcoin's at 60,900. Well, it's had a nice run. Yeah, for the last it's gone up. What's that? 200, no, 300%. Wasn't it? It's at 20,000 in 2022, and now it's at 60,000. So whatever that is, 400%. Yeah, I was reading. So Peter Steele, who founded the band Carnivore, then Typo Negative, was from Brooklyn, and he was born in 1962. He's like, man, back then Brooklyn was a crap hole, and now he's dead now. He died, but he's like, all these people moving into Brooklyn, they don't know what it was back in the day, and you might find it again pretty soon. Yeah, Biden is 100%. Wheel. I heard a black guy actually didn't make the cotton gin. I heard the guy, is that Eli Whitney or something like that? I forgot his name. I heard he's white. All right, acceleration of the cost of the mortgage company can move up the date when the property must be paid off. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. That does not sound good. I don't know if I have that in my thing. I don't know. Compression of air has been around a long time. Simple pumps. Yeah, but how do you pump it? I mean, what's the source of the moving of the air? That's what I don't get. I mean, like a siphon or something like that? How does it move? Alternate investments produce freedom and state-run currency produces slavery. I don't feel like I'm a slave. You feel like you're a slave? I don't feel like I'm a slave at all, man. I mean, alternate investments produce freedom. Is that true? You get freedom from alternate investments? I don't know. Look at Ferns Fins. All right. You mentioned great ETF, BTV. So the gains mentioned on Yahoo stock page doesn't include dividends. So the gains, if you just look at the price, let's look at stock, let's go to stock, finance.yahoo.com. So they show you a couple of things here. Hey, yeah, my wife's dad and mom both spoke Mandarin. In fact, he was her professor of Chinese at Western Kentucky University. And both these giants, she was 6 foot, he was 6'4", and he was just straight from Ireland, basically Mick right off the boat, speaking Mandarin's crazy. All right, so you look at this guy right here. We're going to look at the chart. We're just going to go to 5 years. So what you're going to find here is this is just going to be price to price. All right, so you'll see if 108 and up here is 161. That doesn't include dividends. It doesn't include dividends. So you want to make sure you're doing dividends reinvestment, which is why I like to look at Portfolio Visualizer. And it's free, portfoliovisualizer.com, because it does reinvest. You don't have to do dividends reinvested, but you could. This is just price to price. And if you're not reinvesting dividends, if we start this whole thing off, you're leaving a lot on the table for sure. What's Jim Cramer? What's he not looking good about? All right. Good night, man. See you, brother. 112, John. I don't 112. I don't think so. Charlie Munger thought the same way about Bitcoin. All right. Typo best album was Bloody Kisses. I never got a Typo that much. I love Carnivore. Male Supremacy. What a great song. And then the second album, Retaliation. Probably one of the best crossover metal
albums of all time. Carnivore Retaliation, every track on that from top to bottom is just freaking classic. Then they went to Typo, I forget, Slow, Deep, and Hard, and that was okay. That was pretty good. Still carnivore-ish. After that, I didn't like it. It didn't do anything for me. But yeah, so Broken Arrow, you're just wrong there. But my man Finn McKenty, the punk rock MBA, just did a thing on carnivore or Typo Negative. Just like 2 days ago, Finn McKenty from the punk rock NBA, he did a thing on Typo Negative. And Peter Steele wrote a couple songs for Agnostic Front off their Cause for Alarm album, by the way, A Public Assistance, and the one about Bernie Gates, Shoot His Load. Let's read you the lyrics on Shoot His Load by Peter Steele. Agnostic Front, Shoot His Load lyrics. Yeah, this is good. We're going to read you the lyrics here, and you guys will like Peter Steele from Carnivore, and then later Typo Negative. All right, so he says, minding his own business, riding subway trains, got ripped off twice, won't let it happen again. Withdrew $100, bought himself a piece. Can't depend on anyone, he's his own police. 14th Street Station, this could be the night. December, he's heavily sweating, collar feels tight. Tired of being preyed on by the scum of the earth. Tonight he'll be the predator, someone's gonna get hurt. Walked into an empty car, found himself a seat. 5 low lives waiting there, waiting for fresh meat. One by one surrounded him, trapped him by the door. Finger on the trigger, they got more than they asked for. A split second without thinking, hot gun in his hand, 4 shots of blood. Bernie gets his man. Now he stands trial, a criminal he's told, but he's got the satisfaction of shooting his load. No, that's such a good song. Freaking, oh, you want to hear another good song by these guys, by Agnostic Front, that Peter Steele had written. Oh man, if I can find it. What's going on, man? Is it freezing up on me? Oh yeah, right here. Oh man, this is a great song. It was so racist. Yeah. If it ain't racist, you ain't doing something wrong. Agnostic Front, public assistance lyrics right here. Oh my goodness. This is such a good song. Correct. Eli Whitney is white guy, right? You don't see this? No, really. Yeah. So Dark Horse says inflation. You don't see this? You don't see what your argument is missing here? If inflation has risen 25% or more in the last 2 to 3 years, then what good is a 5% interest rate on my cash? You don't get that? Okay. It's weird. You don't see how that's weird to me. How you don't get that. Let's see what he has to say, and then we'll close up shop. So we'll get ready to land this plane, but I want to share with this lyric right here, public assistance. You spend your life on welfare lines or looking for handouts. Why don't you go find a job? You birth more kids you birth more kids to up your checks so you can buy more drugs, cash in food stamps, and get drunk. Uncle Sam takes half my pay so you can live for free. I got a family and bills to pay. No one hands money to me. You can go to school for nothing, get that government grant, get money in advance when you're sick from shooting up. Medicare pays full Medicaid. I'm not reading the way it's sung because it's sung very fast, so it rhymes. When you're sick from shooting up, Medicaid pays full portion. When the little Maria gets knocked up, she gets a free abortion. Uncle Sam takes. We already talked about that. We talked about that. How come it's minorities who cry things are too tough on TV with their gold chains? They claim they don't get enough. I say they make them clean the sewers. Don't take no resistance. If they don't like it, go to hell. Cut their public assistance. Oh my goodness, so racist. It's so funny, man. Such a good song. And I mean that's from 1985, 86. Yeah, Male Supremacy is a song by Carnivore. It's a great song. You'll like it, Kathleen. It's not a neo-Nazi band. Come on. Oh, just be, everyone. I thought Seals and Cross. Oh, don't be like that, Mo Lesser Jr. It's not a neo-Nazi band at all. Agnostic Front. Jeez. Far from it. Typo Negative. Oh, my goodness. Fantastic lyrics. Summer breeze makes me feel fine. Bernie Getz, dude. Yeah. Yeah, total return, 100%. That's the way to do it. I don't like terror. I kind of the newer stuff. I can't really get into that. I mean, look, I've lately I've been more on the lately. Um, I just haven't. Frankly, I don't think I've ever listened to terror. I'm not like angry like I used to be. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard for me to get into newer angry stuff. I'm chill. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's fun back in the old days. You go to shows and just run around and stuff. I'm just not an angry guy anymore. But it's hard for me to get into new stuff. So any kind of new stuff is going to be new, like stoner metal, like the desert metal, doom metal kind of stuff. I very much enjoy that. I very much like the doom metal kind of stuff. Not black metal. Black metal is so stupid. I'm not even really thrash metal. I don't mind. I don't like so much anymore. I don't listen to it, but it's not something that gets me going. I just like. I haven't listened to much new hardcore music in a long time. It's just like I mean, that was a past that doesn't exist for me anymore in terms of who I am now. Now I'm just chill. And I'm like, why are you so angry? It doesn't make sense. But I did like it back then. I reinvest on fiscally reinvest my Oh, oh. If you want a neo-Nazi band, Mo, you listen to Screwdriver. Screwdriver and Brutal Attack. That'll be your neo-Nazi bands. Yeah, kind of bores me, frankly, but some of it's okay. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But if you want a neo-Nazi band, that's the bands you listen to. Ironically enough, I don't know about Brutal Attack, but Screwdriver's back on YouTube. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? Because all these bands got banned, and then I was like, Screwdriver's back on YouTube. Couldn't believe it. But that's what if you're looking for that, brother, that's what you listen to. It's okay. I don't mind it. I don't listen to it. I'm just like, I don't. It's not like it's. I mean, there's so many different music tastes that I like, and sometimes I listen to some. I like a different taste for whatever my feeling is. But again, I'm just chill now, man. When I was growing up, a white kids in the inner burbs. That's when the first gangster rap started coming around. I remember that movie Colors with Ice-T. It wasn't Ice-T, but he sang the track for that title track. And that made all the inner burb white kids want to be gangsters. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this is cool. And that was what led to gangster rap taking off because it's the white kids who just made it. Yeah, I 100, dude. I could not agree more. That's a good point, man. That's 100%. It's very weird how the ebb and flow comes. Yeah, I think the Bruins are. I think they're probably done for. They look out of gas. What I'm saying, and Marchand's hurt now. Yeah, but so exactly. I have no F's given. Is what I'm saying. I completely agree. I just don't care. I mean, it's just like whatever. It's just these. Like I'm listening to some of the old angry music, and I was like, why are you so? You had it so. I mean, look, just I don't know. I'm sitting there thinking, you lived in America, in the suburbs, and you're like freaking pissed off at the world. Yeah, it's just, but I do like music. But I just remember when Ice T Ryan Pays came out. So basically, what happened was the first. I mean, we had Run DMC, which I never understood, bored the hell out of me. But people loved Run DMC, I guess, because they had that crossover with that stupid band Aerosmith. And let's just all admit, Aerosmith sucked in the '80s. Horrible band. '70s good, '80s they just sucked. And they had that crossover. Then the Beastie Boys, who was a punk rock band in New York, just by happenstance, the Beastie Boys came out, and just that was just ironic. How tell me Beastie Boys weren't chosen, to be the band for white people to say, oh, rap music's pretty good. At the same time, you had the gangster rap with Ice-T, NWA, and stuff like that. Too Short, the Ghetto Boys out of Houston and whatnot. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, all these white kids want to be gangsters. You know what I'm saying? And they picked up. They just love the. Whoa, no, the Celtics about to take another one too? No way. Are they losing? No way. The Celtics are losing right now. No way. They can't be losing to Cleveland. No, what are you talking about? They're up 17. All right, phew, I was getting ready to freaking poop my pants. Yeah, but they were catchy, the Beastie Boys. Like that song, whatever that song is, Sabotage. That's a good song. I like the song. I just can't stand the Beastie Boys. I think they're just rich kids who, kind of like Taylor Swift. You know, they're bought and paid for the industry. Yeah, the Rangers did lose. I saw that. I'm just gangster. Yeah, then the guys like Vanilla. I mean, the whole thing is just it's so predictable. Like who's that guy? Cat Williams and all these guys. You know, the P Diddleys and whatnot. They're all paid for by the lobby that runs the music industry. And sadly, many people have died because these assholes who just we had a kid here in Atlanta, 4-year-old kid got killed, drive-by shooting, black kid, no one cares. You know what I'm saying? There's a black girl that got basically she's murdered by her ex-boyfriend, put into a put into a suitcase, driven to Nashville, and then they burned her body. No one cares. No one cares. And you know the sad thing is it's not whites who bear the brunt of gangster rap, it's blacks. Like blacks bear the brunt of violent crime. And I just it's just disgusting. And no one cares unless it's a white perp. It's disgusting, man. And I just find it sad. But then on top of that, they freaking have the whites off too went stupid with their stupid, you know, love of trying to be gangsters and stuff. And it's just the whole thing was just created by Hollywood and music executives. Now, with that said, in the 80s, before gangster rap, there's massive amounts of violent crime. So you can't just say violent crime was caused by gangster rap. It's just not true, because the 80s, when rap music was actually pretty decent in terms of, you know, righteousness, there's tons of violent crime because the CIA put all the crack cocaine in the communities. But it's just I mean, there's nothing to do about it as long as we share. Oh my, Penelope, might have to ban you. How dare you? How dare you share? My goodness. All right, I think I get out of here, my friends. We'll let Penelope get the last word with that insanity. Yeah, I 100% Broken Arrow. So lots of senseless. I'll never forget when we lived in Arizona. I'll never forget. This isn't Arizona. This is Chicago. Hadia Pendleton. Let's look her up. Still to this day, it infuriates me that no one flipping cares because it's not a white perp. Not a white perp. We're going to look up Hadia Pendleton. Oh, you're so liberal, Josh. No, I'm not. I'm not liberal. Pendleton. Right here. Right here. And no one freaking cares. Right there. Beautiful girl. Beautiful girl. Shot. She sang at Obama's inauguration. Shot by some freaking thug who just freaking drove by and shot up, you know, some people he thought was a rival gang. And those men, just breaks my heart, man. And then you had this. I remember we lived in Arizona. This white kid trying to be gang. This is in the late '90s. He drove by these people he thought were waving him gang signs, and he shot him up and killed some girl. And they were just waving to him. They weren't waving gang signs. He's just a high school kid. He should be freaking fried. He should have rid the lightning. But it's insanity. It's insanity. I'll never forget that because we lived in Arizona during that time, and I just remember it's like what caused a guy, just some punk ass kid, who wants to make a point how cool. It's crazy.
It's 100%. It's easy to be a thug if you don't have a dad. Absolutely. That's what it all comes down to, man. All right. Well, on that hopeful note, we're going to get out of here. All right, guys. God bless. Appreciate y'all. But, we know the solution. It's only one solution. It's to love the Lord with all your heart and love the neighbor with all your heart. 2 commands. Jesus, a guy named Jesus, gave us 2 commands. Love the Lord with all your heart and soul, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's all you can do, man. You got to do it. All right. God bless. We'll see you guys. Thanks for being here. Peace.